What's a good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. Happy to have y'all with me. Let's call this a power lunch hour, if you will. But I want to dive into one of the outstanding questions still that we have in NFL free agency, or really just over the course of this offseason, in which we need to try to solve for how are we going to find a number two wide receiver, right? We've seen the reports. The Jets want to find a veteran receiver, and I think that makes sense, right? You obviously can go out there and get you a Carnell Tate or I don't know why I'm blanking, Jordan Tyson. You can get one of these top guys in the first round. Hell, you can even get some strong guys in round two as well. But you want to make sure that you're not setting them up for failure, right? So while they're not expected to get a ton of attention, it makes more sense to bring in someone that's been there, done it. They've seen it. We know what they can do against legitimate cornerback twos and the cornerback ones of the world. And so, how can the Jets do that, right? NFL free agency is extremely limited this year, which is one of the factors why I think things are extremely slow, even if there is a lot of meat left on the bones in terms of people that are physically available, right? So I'll run through one of the lists that I've seen from NFL Trade Rumor, and we can just kind of have a discussion or a breakdown of why these guys do and don't make sense. Because at least for a lot of what's come my way, it's been what's taking so long, right? We have Juwan Jennings that's out there. I've seen people float DeAndre Hopkins, a number of other notable names. Tyreek Hill still out there, right? So why haven't the Jets secured somebody that could be a difference maker? And still, to that point, I think there's also an opportunity for somebody to double down, get you a veteran wide receiver, still make sure that you walk away in the first two rounds with the guy as well. But that, of course, also becomes a lot less prevalent. So let me know what you guys think as we go through this, right? This exercise, if we want to call it that. And let's see who makes the most sense for us just in terms of free agency. And then I do want to, by extension, that take a look at as well what kind of trade opportunities and scenarios may be out there for us, right? I think, if anything, I would almost expect more so that Darren Muji ends up combing through the catacombs of the NFL to walk away with a receiver that none of us really expected. And the easy connections are from the Broncos' most recent acquisition, right? They have Troy Franklin and they have Marvin Mims as potential options readily available. And, they're coming through as proven guys and stuff like that. So super hyped for that. Bill, welcome in, my guy. Appreciate you hopping in here. Looking forward to some awesome questions, some awesome discussion that comes up. Probably in maybe another 5 to 10 minutes here, I'll drop a link in the chat as well for anybody that wants to jump on. We can talk through some of your guys's ideals and visions for the wide receiver position as well, and it'll be fun. So no way to filter this through, of course, honestly, but let's take a look at Stephon Diggs right at the top of the list. Right now, I do think this makes a ton of sense that he would lead the list of potential wide receiver free agents that are out there. But as with the majority of this list, if we just run through Stephon Diggs, 32, Juwan Jennings, I believe, is the only player throughout the entirety of this list that might be under 30, right? And essentially he'll be hitting that over the course of the season. Debo's 30, Hill is 32, Keenan is 34. You go a ways down before you even get to another guy. DeAndre Hopkins, 34. He goes away down again. Adam Thielen, 36. Tyler Johnson is 28. So we have another guy, but then Noah Brown is 30. So, and then you hit the you hit the bulk of the guys that probably won't get contracts until after the NFL draft is done, right? So Curtis Samuel, 30, Cedric Wilson, 30, Tim Patrick, 32, Brandon Cooks, 32. You have Juju, 29. So three guys so far under 30, but essentially will all hit that mark at some point during the season. Valdez Scantling at 31, Reynolds is 31, Sterling Shepard at 33. So even throughout this list, you get some of the obvious guys where it's like, all right, they've already recently been on the roster, or have been here under this coaching staff, and or at least under Aaron Glenn's tutelage, anyways. And so, are they going to return to a situation like this? Does it make sense? Are they that desperate? Who knows, right? But again, kicking things off with Stefon Diggs here. So I think in this case, Stefon Diggs is coming over from the Patriots. We take a look at the season. Let's just see statistically what he did in 2025. So he put up 85 receptions for 1,013 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was available for all 17 games. Um, Across all of his targets, he caught 82.5% of those balls. And so you at least look at him and you say, proven guy, he's still productive, coming off of, by the way, this being his first year, having a post-significant injury, right? I believe he popped that Achilles, which took him out of Buffalo. So productive player, proven, obviously was a focal point of that Patriots offense, and what at many points of the season, Drake May was really able to go out there and rely on. We've seen him actually do a number on us in our first matchup against the Patriots, where I believe he may have been the only player to reach 100 yards. If not, I think it was something like 80 plus yards, and he had a touchdown or two in that game. But definitely came to save the day. If we were in a different space, right? If we were in a similar situation to maybe even the Patriots last year, where we had a young quarterback that we're grooming through, we want to give him a reliable weapon. We want to provide a steady presence. And to whatever degree you believe this could be possible by Stefon Diggs, you want to give him a channel to some direct leadership on the field when things aren't necessarily going right and they're going awry, and how to keep those guys from really, self, what that self destruction. There we go. And from a leadership standpoint, I don't know if Stefon Diggs is that guy, right? He may be that on the field, and I don't have anything one way or the other definitively that I would look at to kind of parse that out. But off the field, you know for a fact that you're going to have some level of drama, right? Whether it's Cardi B, whether it's all of these wild rumors and accusations, whether it's now the legal trouble that he's in. So you have some level of saying he's not going to be available for these games. He's going to be year two removed from the injury, so you feel good about potentially the production still being there for, in him, potentially a better situation. Keep in mind, probably 90% of any player that we could mention being signed or being traded for this roster will come in as the number two to Garrett Wilson. I don't know if there's going to be a world where you could say you have a direct upgrade, other than maybe getting someone like an A.J. Brown caliber player, which is going to come with his own issues. But this is potentially even better for Stefon Diggs, right? He's going to walk into a situation which is unusual for him, where he hasn't needed to be the guy. And so the biggest question marks here, again, would be if you're comfortable with the legal trouble, if you're comfortable looking at the production that he was able to produce in 2025, then I mean, I guess you go for it. I can't see him being a good locker room fit or the caliber of guy that Aaron Glenn would necessarily love to see in that room. But you look at the deal he signed with the Patriots, right? 3 years, 63.5 million, 22.6 of that was guaranteed. It's probably going to be a significant contract that you need to piece together to pull him in as well. So if he was essentially he essentially got what, 22, he got somewhere in the range of 23 million, maybe, with incentives for a 1 year deal. I don't know if the Jets are going to be willing to want to facilitate that same kind of structure of a contract, especially because technically, again, outside of the legal points and stuff like that, he has no reason to necessarily need to take a pay cut. So we'll see how it plays out, but I don't think he'll honestly be on our radar when it comes to that. Gator, what's the good word, my guy? Has been a little bit for you guys that don't know, and I'll probably try to make this an annual or biannual thing, whatever the case is. Gator single-handedly produced a lot of the stuff when it comes to intros, and when I did have an outro, and some of the media pieces that I may use like icons and stuff like that at some point. This is the guy. Plus, he's done the same thing for a lot of the others in the Jets content space world. Dude's awesome. I think you still see him all the time on probably the Jake Asman show, different things like that. But coming through with a question, he loves Jawan Jennings. What would be the cost? So let's take a look at what Jawan actually has going on here. Let's see. So Jawan Jennings' contract situations have been. So he had a 2-year, $11.89 million deal with the 49ers back in 2024, which he got 8.4 million of that guaranteed. This much more palatable contract, right? Now, I think performance wise, what is he at going on? 2025, he played 15 games, started all of those games. He had 55 receptions for 643 yards, 9 touchdowns. Numbers that you would love to see. These are impressive considering the general nature of that 49ers offense, which is going to be leaning through CMC, right? He's essentially the main engine, not only on the ground, but through the air for that team. You take a look at the lack of other options that they have within that offense with Debo no longer being there, taking a look at Ayuk, right? Sitting out or being injured, whatever the situation was for him in 2025. These are really, really impressive numbers here. You love the 9 touchdowns for sure. So it shows that he's going to be a red zone threat. And one of the things that I value is he is going to come in, he's going to produce like a number two. He's going to bring the size that you love, right? 6'3", about 212 pounds. So not necessarily your classic X or who you would think of when it comes to looking like an AJ Brown and guys that are going to be in that mold, right? Kind of your DK Metcalfs. But he plays kind of like a hybrid role, right? He's a guy that you could throw in the slot. He's a guy that can play the X. He's a guy that can give you some possibility to go vertical. And when you want to talk about the timing and the route running and the precision necessary to really be able to thrive in a West Coast offense, he's also already demonstrating that for you within the system. So I would be curious, right? The big thing around this to me is why hasn't he already signed a contract with someone, right? If he was really the only immediate stud that you look at on a list of available free agent wide receivers, what's really happening? Is he looking to try to re-sign with the 49ers and they're trying to work through cap and whatever's happening there? Is there medicals or something crazy that no one's aware of that's coming up? Is he potentially considering retirement, which wouldn't be crazy considering some of the recent retirements we've seen for guys that are 27 and under? There's a lot that we have to peel back. The latest that I've seen on this is based on the year that he put up last year. He's over evaluating what he would have been worth. Directly what I saw was coming from Chris Sims, who said, because teams are having to kind of overpay for these wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 level players, they think that, let me see, so Spot Track had him highlighted in the range of 22.6 million per year, which is insane, right? That's essentially the Stephon Diggs deal that we just talked about. And I'm not saying that he hasn't proven that he's going to be a productive guy or anything, right? You don't love that going into his second contract. He is already an older player. But you imagine he's really only going to get like a 3-year deal. I'm thinking is almost the same setup, right? It's like a 3-year deal. He's going to want some level of like 20 plus $1 million in guarantees over that first year. Maybe some of that gets spread into year two, just so he has some level of consistency and he's not jumping from a team from year to year. But do you want to commit that to a guy that'll already be essentially approaching 30 and that you've only seen in a specific offense that, as everybody loves to say, is very wide receiver, well, quarterback friendly for one, but by virtue of that, is also going to be a receiver friendly environment, albeit very demanding. Um, I think I would still take the risk for this, right? I think the number specifically needs to be something that's not going to cause any chaos for us, which is funny saying it as well because I know the early projections are that we'll have over like $140 million in cap space for year two. We also didn't commit really any free agent signing so far in this offseason beyond just this year. So it's, take the gamble on it, right? I think Allen Lazard is available. What's good, Danger? Yeah, if Alan Lazard even sniffed being around this building again, I think we'd riot. I don't know if bourbon would do that to you. That sounds like a whiskey problem. He turns 29 in July. Yeah, like to me, he would be worth the risk. I would be really curious again on kind of what the overall NFL interest is around this. He peaked at the right time. So I'm seeing a different report. Teams don't view, so maybe this is a situation. So he's looking at his production last year. He's saying as the top option within my team, excluding CMC. I think I have wide receiver one potential. Apparently, teams are reviewing or view him as more as a wide receiver two, maybe even elite tier like wide receiver three caliber player, and that's probably the difference in range for whatever contracts may or may not have been offered here. Who's to say? So here's where I think it would be awesome for the Jets, much like they did with a lot of their defensive needs, to be able to grab someone like Jennings. And then at that point, you can almost quite literally just go best player available for how you think these guys fit on the roster, right? You don't necessarily need to take a wide receiver at any point. You don't necessarily need to take a quarterback, a defensive player, edge, any of these guys, right? It's purely going to be about schematic fit and who can perform best, or at least who gives you that highest like year one floor, right? If you want to think about the viewpoint of Aaron Glenn trying to save his job, it would be ideal to sign Jawan Jennings now, and then you go into the first day. You say, all right, we can bypass the Carnell Tate, we can trade up, we can do whatever that is that we're going to look like, as opposed to the inverse, which is maybe you sign a Jawan Jennings after the draft and you're penciling in as a rookie to compete with him for whatever that wide receiver two spot is ultimately going to end up looking like. But I'm not married to the process one way or the other. I think it just makes most sense to get him in the building now, but I think if you let this play out and it does take that long, right? I think the benefit there will be that obviously he's probably needed to come down on whatever his asking price is. So I don't know. Darren Muji doesn't strike me as the type to necessarily play hardball. I don't think he's rolling over in contract negotiations by any means because we haven't necessarily seen a crazy, crazy contract. I'll be, considering Brandon Stevens one so far. But at least they got Stevens to kind of live up to that first year to some degree. So far, nothing extremely looks like a huge red flag for him contractually so far, but I don't think he wants to put a blemish on his radar, 2-3 weeks into free agency either. Is there a world where we can get a good tight end pass catcher and stay the course at wide receiver, or would we still need at AD insurance? Adonai Mitchell? I assume that's who we're talking about. I I think you add a weapon no matter what it is. Personally, if you have the higher grade on like Kenyon, right? Assuming we bypass receiver at two, um, if you have a higher grade on Kenyon versus a different wide receiver, then I think you still make that work, right? Obviously, there's a world here where you're seeing your Brock Bowers and your George Kittles and your Travis Kelsey's of the world be the number one option essentially within their offense, if not a very strong number two. So I think that way of thinking we need to try to be removed from. But I think the trickle down factor of having an elite tier tight end is also different from having a good number two wide receiver. So I would almost lean more towards tight end personally. But it just all comes down to schematically between like Frank Reich and Seth Ryan and stuff. How creative and what can they pull out of some of these guys in year one? Because I do think there's going to be a strong rookie element somehow to this offense. So we would need to see. I want no parts of Diggs or Tyreek. Very fair. Allen is too old. Samwell's not the same player he was, and Jennings just seems to be the only free agent worth the risk. Yeah, like Jennings has been consistent, right, in terms of his performance. He's obviously one of the better, I guess, aged players. Um, Considering the wear and tear isn't going to be crazy, even though he's a older player coming in. And you got to see the elite tier output from him when they needed somebody to step up. So, like, all of the things that I can think about in terms of trying to project a guy playing at a higher role consistently, I think he's hit those on. You would have loved to seen that over the course of 2 years instead of it kind of being a 1 year breakout. But like, how much more do like how much more do you really need to see, right? We see 1 year breakouts all the time that end up getting a bag that looks absolutely crazy, but they're paying the price of someone's success. So I think not only like cap wise, do we have the safety net to be able to stomach that risk not panning out for us, but it might also be one of like the cleanest transitions for us player wise. Veteran player, still has, still has like upside to play for in terms of, again, he'd probably only really get 2 years worth of some level of guarantees in there. So by age 31, you're talking about him being able to try to go in and capitalize again on a third contract. So like all of the markers are there for me for something that I wouldn't necessarily hesitate on. And if it really is just a pricing piece, between incentives and stuff, I'm sure you could really work around that, right? You can lower the guarantees to a certain degree and build in some easy like inflation escalators, if you will, to get him over the top if he has that belief in himself, right? And so I don't always like setting things up that way, especially if you think you just have a legit consistent player. But there's a world where stuff like that can help you out just with manipulating the contracts. It sure seems like there's something we don't know about Jennings because they're treating him like a pariah. Yeah, I don't think it's that far beyond. I think probably what I'm loosely like seeing here really is just the fact that he probably views himself in a different tier than what everybody else does, right? And I think you could look at potentially a lot of the wide receivers that have come out of that 49ers offense. since Shanahan has been over there. And you could say the same thing, right? Like Debo looked elite tier at one point, right? It was really like 1 year of extremely crazy production. And then there were all the rumors about, hey, you could get, a first and a second or multiple first or, just a boatload of picks for him. And then the next year wasn't so hot, but still a pretty good year. And then it was like, all right. Brandon Ayuk, same thing. You're looking at Jawan Jennings now. So, like, I think this is also probably just a product of essentially like working within a well-run offense to a certain degree. I could think theoretically speaking here that like the Eagles, I know they've taken a step back to that point, but like any team that generally has a pipeline at a position or generally like just churns out consistent production, they'll face this same issue where the players like, you put me in the position to succeed. I succeeded, pay me. And then they're like, but I can, go pick up a guy in the fifth round and, go through this same experience again. Albeit there's going to be, the rookie learning curves and all that kind of stuff. So it sucks, but such is life in the NFL. Jonu or Sadiq? I'm taking Sadiq. Yeah, it's not even a question for me. It's not even a question. Like, still push the youth movement. When you have the amount of picks that we have, you don't need to make all of them, right? I do think there's definitely a world where you should be trying to mix and move to get the right players that you're looking for. Um, but you don't amass all of these picks just to have to trade them off or like bring in all these veterans. Um, make the pick for the young guy with the upside, and then you can try to surround him with the veteran, which in our room we already have. It happens to be Jeremy Rucker, two completely different kind of people, but um, I think we're structured in a way right now to where you bring in the rookies and you can figure it out. Jersey for Hawks. What's the good word, my guy? So yeah, I think Jawan Jennings is definitely like the primary option here for me so far, right? I'm fully on board with what my guy Gator is talking about here for him. I think he makes the most sense. I think he makes the most sense for essentially all 32 teams looking for a wide receiver. And I don't know if there's going to be like a domino per se that falls that suddenly kicks this signing off. But he may be another guy, just like almost everybody else on this list that we'll talk about, if not everybody, where they'll probably have to wait until the draft to see how the teams were able to move around and pick up pieces that they thought they were going to get. And then if not, someone may be willing to throw the bag at him that he's looking for, or at that point, like once it's post draft, it could get scary for a guy that still wants to play because there's going to be a ton of transactional things that are still happening. So there might be more incentive for him to come down on his pricing, after that point. As mentioned, though, it gets pretty scary pretty quickly, right? Debo Samuel's the next guy. Didn't really quickly doesn't look like the same player that's kind of like that one of one caliber guy. Because he's such a unique fit, I also don't think it makes sense for where we're at right now offensively, trying to have to install a new scheme. Everybody's learning, all that kind of stuff. I definitely want a veteran presence to kind of ease that gap, but it's not like there's a strong overlap with anybody on the roster or the coaching staff specifically or anything like that to where you say, okay, this makes sense. If it's just purely going to be a talent conversation, sign me up for Jawan or more of your classical wide receiver is kind of what I view, right? Tyreek Hill, same thing, significant injury. Even if his, post-recovery speed is still a league or two beyond what like the average person is just because he is who he is, or anything like that. I think this is a similar conversation to Stephon, where it's like, you have pending and future legal trouble that's coming up. We also seen kind of how you reacted in a situation that wasn't nearly as volatile as anything that the Jets went through when things were starting to sink with the Dolphins over there. And if it's going to happen, let it come from the rookie and a guy that like got in over his head or something. I don't want to have to deal with bringing in a veteran. It should be status quo or business as usual for us. and we're seeing more like drama and BS come through the building, it's just not going to be great, right? Aaron Glenn's not going to want to have to deal with that with everything he's going to need to manage and stuff. And um, Frank Reich coming from college also just kind of puts me in this headspace of saying, like, he's already adjusted to trying to deal with young men, kind of growing into, you know, uh, becoming a man and or leader and all of those other elements that we like to talk about at a high level. Let him continue to work that out with, that caliber of person. Tyreek probably ends up back in Kansas City. I did see some early connections. I did also see that he was like in Kansas City for, I don't know, volunteering or a race event or something like that, and that like sparked a bunch of rumors. Do you think Max Crosby gets moved? Wild to think he still plays in Vegas. I don't know, right? So the Ravens were already kind of an albatross even before reneging on the trade because they gave him those two first. And so 30 plus year old guy has been in a trash situation with the Raiders for years, right? He doesn't necessarily want to go through a rebuild, although he's still playing the team motto pretty strongly over there. Um, but I don't know it. I don't know how many more teams are equipped to try to pull that same trade off that the Ravens did, which would be the big struggle. And I don't know if the Raiders are going to be in a situation where they think they need to come down on their asking price in order to just say that they got him out of the building, especially since they already picked up. Um, well, no, sorry, that trade got reneged, so they still only have one first rounder now. But I don't know another team that's going to be in a situation where they think they are in a win now mode that has the capital to pull off that same thing. So he could end up playing with the Raiders again, right? Unless they come down on the cost for him. Do you think Tyrod ends up as our number two again? What are your top three free agent backup quarterbacks left in order of preference? Good question. Good question. Um, I don't think Tyrod is back necessarily. I think if we're going outside of the building and we're looking at three people, I would probably say I just had like a list of this somewhere too. Hold on, let me go find my list again. So I know Cooper Rush is definitely in my top three. And then from there, let's see. So Kirk Cousins is available. I'm not interested in him at all. I'm not interested in Rodgers. I don't know if you can sell me on a Russell Wilson, but I don't think he's out of the question. Zach Wilson, definitely not. Tyrod, there's a chance. I'm not going with Joe Flacco. Um, I would probably say, and didn't Hendon Hooker come back to us already, or was he still just lobbying? I would probably say Cooper Rush would be my top guy right now, and then it would probably be Russell Wilson, and then maybe someone like, yeah, purely going out of the building. I would say Cooper Rush is one. Russell Wilson is probably two. And then just because I like the setup and the experience that guys would have got from the Vikings, I would probably say an off the cuff name like John Wolford. Does Mason Taylor make a large leap or a mild one from year one to year two and under Reich and Ryan? It depends on. I guess it depends on a little bit more specificity there, right? Because 44 receptions, I think, led the Jets in terms of receptions, right? 346 yards, 369 yards for him, giggity. 369 yards, which I think was second on the team, and then he only had one touchdown. I think he only played. How many games did he play in again? He only played in. God damn it, where is it? He only had a chance to play in, I feel like it was like 10 games or something like that, but let me verify. Played in 13 games. And in that time, there was absolutely nothing that Fields was really able to do. And then even further beyond that is, Tyrod coming in and then ultimately going to Brady Cook. Like, a lot of handicaps there. So can he jump up to hitting like that 600 to 700 yard range? I would probably say yeah, but I think it also depends on what Reich views him as. Like, does he have enough potential as a weapon to see 3 to 5 targets per game, or do they look at him as more of the overall do all the things, play in line, split out wide, be able to go in the backfield, stay in for blocking? I think he's a 3 down caliber tight end, but if they don't view him as the guy that they need to try to also facilitate an offense through, and he ends up being the fourth weapon by default, then I think you just end up with a bunch of seasons where he consistently probably gives you like just under 500 yards, and then maybe he gives you like 5 to 6 touchdowns a year. Um, so I don't know. We'll have to see how that really plays out under Reich. And again, if we do pick up a Kenyon or something like that, then that's going to even further remove him from how often he's probably actually seeing targets in the offense. Guessing Cousins is waiting on Rodgers. I don't know about that. Cousins, let's not forget, right? Cousins, an off-season mercenary. That man, what is he? I think he's top five in like total guarantees over the course of a career or something like that, with like $358 million or something crazy. Ron, my guy, what's the good word? Sup, man? Can we tell Moose to take two receivers, Sadiq or Cooper at 16, and at 44, Bernard or Surratt? Ooh, I like this. I don't know if we would take two back to back like that. Like maybe if it's Sadiq and then you're taking Bernard or Surratt, that probably is a little bit more palatable. Um, I don't know if you want to throw two extra rookies in this equation, right? I think that would be my only struggle. Otherwise, yeah, run it up. Like, bring in a Cardinal Tate or somebody, and then double dip and take like a Jeremy Bernard in round two again or something like that. Um, but it does feel like that's probably a room where you need another adult because Garrett Wilson at one. Let's say, take your example, it's Omar Cooper at two. Then you're talking about Adonai Mitchell at three, Isaiah Williams at four, Arian Smith at five, and then maybe someone like um trying to remember our special teams demon again. What was his name? Irvin Charles, right? Someone like Irvin Charles or someone like that is six. Um, so not saying that Garrett Wilson isn't a great leader, like anything like that of the room, but like generally speaking, you probably want a wide receiver room that at least has two solid vets in there to kind of keep the course steady, especially if something does happen to where one or the other happens to go down. You don't want the whole rookie receiving room looking at each other like, who's stepping up? What are we doing? Um, so we'll see. With the signing of Wentz in Minnesota, does JJ rank at all as a backup quarterback? I don't know. I think there's probably still like how far down he's been knocked off the totem pole. I feel like is a little crazy just from the bits and pieces that I like pick up from over there. I think there's a legitimate world where they could potentially look to take a quarterback again in this draft, and then you ultimately end up seeing someone like JJ get traded during preseason, or that he ends up being cut like outright. Um, and then maybe you look to scoop him up off like waiver wires or something like that. Cooper's really a late riser. People mention him at 16 far more this week than ever. Before it was a crazy note. Yeah, Omar Cooper has been getting crazy. So I know Connor Rogers, for example, just put out a new wide receiver ranking, and he was third on his list. I think it was I think it was Carnell Tate. He might have been second. Carnell Tate. Then it would have been what's the little dude? Uh, God damn it, Makai Lemon. So I think it's like Cardinal Tate, Makai Lemon, then it's Omar Cooper, and then I think it's like Denzel Boston for him. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. A lot of this, I assume, is just the normal lead up to the draft, but like he wouldn't be the only one either. The left tackle out of what was it, Georgia or whatever, has been rising like crazy too, to where now they're talking about him being like a top pick for the Browns in the top 10. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I still think I think Omar is going in the first round, but there's probably a chance where he's there in like the late 20s, maybe in that 31, 32 range, and we look to just try to drop up and scoop him up or something like that. But I haven't looked at a ton of the wide receivers either yet. A lot of my focus has been within that top 10 rank right now. But I do really, really like him. I do know part of the hype from Connor Rogers, though, has been he's been talking about how D'Angelo Pons, the cornerback from Indiana, hyped him up as having a release package that was similar to Devontae Adams, which is what made him such a hard prospect to like guard and stuff. So not only is he getting all the hype just from what he did in the combine, but then looking at the season that they have, but then you have Connor Rogers, at least for the Jet Spears specifically, having some of these comparisons and the hype factor there and stuff like that is pretty crazy. I don't think really the rest of this list needs to be dived into. Like DeAndre Hopkins would be the other interesting name, but he would have such a specific role in mind for me. Like I don't think the movement is quite there the same way it used to be. I think he could still adjust to the ball in the air just fine, and the hands obviously still work really good. But I know he called out the Ravens for their lack of usage with him in the red zone. And because he's not going to move in the same way, I would purely just look at him as a red zone threat. So if it's me, the package I'm rolling out once we get inside the 20 would be like Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, Mason Taylor, and then, depending on whatever we would do at tight end. And that would be like my big package out there for the size and contested catch ability. But I don't know if you want somebody with such like a limited role per se that you're picking up. Then once you go all the way down, like Adam Thielen, he's just too ancient for me. I'm I'm not even going down that conversation. This is very similar to me for like Keenan Allen, who I really, really like still. Like Hopkins, Keenan, and Adam Thielen. I think we could sign them, and I wouldn't go crazy about how could you do this. But I think realistically, you are only getting like 5 to 7 games of good to maybe high end production, and then you're going to see that veteran, stiff legs, aching arms and elbows, like all that stuff's going to start happening. And so you're going to end up losing them pretty quickly after that first quarter or two of the season. But who else was out there? Like Tyler Johnson, he's already been here. Noah Brown is the other, like, if Jawan Jennings couldn't be the guy for us, Noah Brown would be the other guy that I would seriously look at. Um, now, I I would seriously look at him only from the standpoint that if he if he was finally able to be healthy, then maybe you can kind of get I don't know, some level of minor magic that might be there from him, right? Like the size, like the athleticism to a certain degree, but injury history extremely scary. So if you're going to look at a Noah Brown, you might as well just take the risk of taking like Jordan Tyson in the draft because it doesn't look great, right? Noah Brown, 4 games last year, 11 games in 2024, 10 games in 2023. So it would be a huge risk if I'm signing him is not to be a Jawan Jennings level prospect. Like I'm not looking at him as a wide receiver too, but I'd be looking at him for like Adonai Mitchell or Arian Smith insurance potentially as um, a guy that potentially produces more and is less of kind of your special teams role player. But we'll see. Njoku washed. I don't know about that. I don't know about him being washed, but I don't know if we invest any specific high end resources that aren't going to come from the draft at the tight end position. Like one of the things that I think I'd be pretty locked into as well would be Sam Roush from Stanford joining Frank Reich as like another tight end. Um, if he's there in the fourth round somehow, maybe we try to trade up and grab someone like him. But like, I just don't see us going crazy at tight end position if it's not going to come out of the draft with like Kenyon Sadiq. I don't even see us taking like Eli Stowers, which I consistently hear is the next best guy in like round two. But it's us, so crazier things have happened. And then I guess to round out the list, right? Like Curtis Samuel, I specifically, if we're going to target a slot guy, I want some guy that's going to be like elite tier at that level. That's just not going to be him at this time. Same thing with like Cedric. Tim Patrick would make sense only because he has that Detroit connection to Aaron Glenn and the staff. So you kind of already know what you're getting out there if you're him. And then like Brandon Cooks, he's bounced around for a while. Juju, I just don't like what's happened at the last couple stops. MVS, we've kind of been down that path before. Reynolds has been here, Sterling Shepard. So like all of that stuff gives me almost little to no excitement whatsoever. But for those that don't know, I put it out in Discord at least. So if you guys don't have Discord, jump on there. I try to get some heads up. I got my boy back on the stream for a little bit here. I'm going to be chopping it up with him in like 4 hours, a little under 4 hours, over on his side of things. My boy Johnny.
Hey, what's going on, brother? DK, man, how you holding up?
Man, doing good, doing good.
Dude,
How's
I'm so pumped to have you guys on the show tonight. I think it's gonna be awesome. Can't wait. I sent you everything.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
See here.
All right, cool. So, um, I wanted to ask you this, right? With the draft coming out, and it seems like I honestly don't think anybody or any of us knows which way the New York Jets are going to go
Yeah.
because nothing's being leaked out, bro, which is great, which is a good thing. But I feel like I think they're gonna go with the first two picks. It's gonna be all defense, man. Like, am I tripping
Mhm.
about that? Because now there's noise that's being talked about. Now it might be noise, but that Caleb Downs, because of that whole
The
knee
knee.
issue or or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
that he might be dropping, and he'll potentially could be in the 16th around that area.
I don't see that happening.
I mean, dude, neither do I. But that's like,
Yeah.
it's lie season right now. Everybody's gonna say whatever. Everybody's like, that's the reason I think they're hyping up Ty Simpson so much right now. So you hope that somebody is like, yo, he's the guy. Let me jump on that, and then some other player ends up dropping. But I wanted to ask you, like, do you think am I tripping for thinking that we're going to potentially go all defense? And I'm saying maybe I think it's between either Reese or between Sonny at 2. But then it's
Are
like
you saying all defense in just the first round, or you said all of the first four picks?
the first round.
First round. Um, nah, that's just kind of like the top of the draft, as we like to say. That's just kind of where the talent realistically is. So, like, if you think about it, right? So, offensively, we have who? We have Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, like Omar Cooper now, maybe Denzel Boston. Then you have Vega, the guard. You have Kenyon Sadiq. Um, and maybe you throw in like another wide receiver or two, right? But like legitimately, there's probably only like 8 players you consistently keep hearing in the first round on like the offensive side of the ball. And if we feel like we don't need to go guard in round one, then cool, that takes a player off the board. If we're not going to invest in Kenyon Sadiq, that takes another player off the board. So then it's like, why overdraft someone on the offensive side of the ball that maybe there's not a huge talent gap for between round one and like round two or even round three, and miss out on the potential elite tier guys that'll be on the defensive side, which doesn't it's not going to be the fan favorite pick for us because people probably expect Aaron Glenn will be out and all that kind of stuff anyways. But to me, it's the teams that have found a way to turn things around, they just ended up deciding just hit on the good players. And the good players for us in round one are essentially going to be on the defensive side, unless somebody slides to positions that we don't expect, right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even 3 weeks ago that like Connor Rogers on the NFL SE podcast, him and Trevor Sycamore were projecting Carnell Tate to fall to us at 16. So like I think it's just going to be a value thing. If the value doesn't happen to be there, then yeah, we're probably going defense and defense at 2 and 16.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they stick to their yeah. See, me and Dano are like on the same. Like, I really do hope that they stick to their board, right? Because I mean, bro, imagine if on their board it's like, and I'm not saying that this is what's going on, but imagine if it is they have Caleb Downs that high, and they don't care about the noise that's being talked about on the outside, but they see that guy being that talented, that much of a leader, that they're like, you know what, the hell with it. We're going to get him at 2, and we don't care what anybody thinks or says or whatever. So I don't think that happens. I think they might go either Reese or Sonny, right? And I think maybe at 30, I think with the 33rd pick, number 33, they go. Dude, I really think they're gonna get our guy from Texas Tech, bro, Rodriguez.
Oh, Jacob, yeah, 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 yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
he's he's
So
dude, he's
yeah,
a dog, bro. Like, they're not talking about enough in regards to, but there's other guys there too, right? Like CJ. There's a lot. So I always battle. What I'm battling right now is, well, do I take the best offensive players that they have, right, off that? But what is considered the best? Is it just the best
yeah,
of trash the offenses this year? I mean, I think Sadiq is a game changer. I would take him at 16, if that. Give me Mason Taylor and Sadiq all day, every day. But I just want whatever they want. I want them to hit, and just keep hitting, and especially on those later rounds in the fourth, like after the fourth, where a lot of the actual teams that do really well, that are typically picking around there, um, we finally do that because I felt like right after the third, that's it. Like we've always been notoriously bad at getting stuff, and you saw that change last year.
Yeah, we end up getting pigeonholed a lot, which sucks, right? Like we need a quarterback, we're picking in the top five. Like obviously those connections get drawn the whole year. That ends up happening. Like I don't think the last time off the top of my head, and like my draft recall tends to be bad if I don't have it right in front of me. But like the last time I can think where we could have just went in a couple different directions and we chose who we probably thought was legitimately the best player would have been it would have been Jamal Adams. Otherwise, most of the other times it was like we have this need, this player's on the board, we're definitely getting him. Um, but I'll flip it to you based on kind of the question you asked to me real quick because I'm curious now. So you kind of playing in the mindset of Aaron Glenn right now and Darren Muji at number two, based on who you think you're going to get the best value out of in year one. Who are you taking? Is it going to be
And so
Downs? Is it going to be Reese or someone like that? Kind
it's
of what's your thought process there?
it's Sonny Styles for me, man. Sonny Styles putting him next to Demario Davis and you letting him learn, and then even at in the second round, if he falls and he's there, I'm taking Jacob Rodriguez as well, and I'm going with those two linebackers. If we're scheming for that 3-4 that they're going for, right, we need more linebackers. You know what I'm saying? So give me all of that. Now, don't get it twisted. I like Reese a lot. It would be crazy if some way somehow we get Reese and then we trade back into, like, I don't know, pick maybe 5 or 7 or something, and I don't know what it would take to give up, but we take Sonny
Mm.
there as well, and we get both of them to stay together because I've always said that Sonny Styles cleaned up a lot of Reese, and you saw it when they were playing against Indiana. So I I don't know, man. I don't believe in Sherwood, so that's why I'm like, yo, get the replacement and try to see if you could get something for him, which I think that might happen.
Yeah, I think so. This is another good question as kind of part of that, right? So, do you think Sherwood is someone who may not be an ideal fit in our 3-4 as an outside linebacker since he is kind of in that 220 mode? Or could we potentially move him and maybe, we end up putting him in a better situation? Does Sherwood play any kind of factor into you potentially taking Sonny and or like a Jacob Rodriguez?
I mean, bro, like the thing that like I battle with the Sherwood conversation is that they're taking him away from the mic. He's not going to be the mic anymore, so he's going to play a lot more freely as well. He's not gonna have to, have all those decisions going through his head, essentially being the quarterback of the defense, right? So, I mean, that one year where he was going off, we can't say that it wasn't a really good year, because it was. You saw the potential that was there, but does he unlock that again? I don't know, bro. Like, dude, he was bad, dude, last year, dude. Like, even on like he's always been bad on coverage. You know what I'm saying? So, like, dude, if you're telling me Tennessee is like, hey, Mooj, look, man, let me get back with my guy Sherwood, because I was able to convert him into this, and he fits what we're gonna do. Shit, I would do it, dude, and like a player for player swap, and then they're like, we'll give you Levis,
Mhm.
and they gotta eat a certain amount of the contract. Dude, I'm all with it.
Yeah, I'm not. There could be some value in keeping Jamie, but like if we are truly going into a lot more 3-4 looks and stuff, it just becomes really hard for him because whether if you move him weak side,
Mhm.
that's fine, but he's still going to be working a lot in the interior. As a 3-4 defense, naturally you blitz a lot more, and so it's like we've already seen that. At least trying to send him through A and B gaps just be um, a pointless exercise. And maybe he can hit from a C gap and go outside, but then it's like you might as well have just moved him to outside linebacker. And if he's going to be blitzing more from that degree, he still doesn't have the size and a lot of like the prerequisites to really live that way. And as an outside linebacker, you're also not really going to be doing anything more than trying to cover to the flats and stuff, which can maybe hide him and limit the damage and issue that he can have. But like, I don't, I wouldn't want a player in the linebacker core that I need to try to hide because we already have that in someone like Kiko going into year two that's built a little bit more like the classic linebacker and is going to have some athleticism deficiencies and stuff like that. So it's like, how many? So the entire linebacker room, regardless of how I feel about Demario, which he's high on my list, but it's like you have risk factors everywhere. Demario's turning 38. He's old. He took a step back in coverage already. You have Jamian, who couldn't do anything right last year in the new scheme, and we don't know what exactly they'll do. Ben Bolin's also a new linebacker coach who's coming from Houston, who are utilizing their linebackers in a pretty similar enough way. And then again, you have Kiko, and I think even beyond them, then you start getting into like the UDFA, Michael Walkers of the world. So it's like you have one dependable enough person, which is Demario, which is really you're only excited about the run game with him and the fact that he's not going to have guys looking crazy out of position, and then question marks for everything else. I don't know who's stopping the pass with anybody in the linebacker core, and unless Demario's just hit sticking people left and right, it's like you're probably not going to be able to do enough damage on first and second down in order to put us in an advantageous situation on third down to even benefit from it. So yeah, grab Sonny, grab Jacob. Um, and then at that point, Kiko's really like your weak link there, and that's one where you can probably live with because at least he's in the same mold of linebackers that Aaron Glenn would have already wanted in the building. But yeah, I constantly am going
Yeah.
through like PTSD thinking about what this linebacker core might look like if we don't make some kind of significant addition there.
And like, I was one of the few. Do I like Demario Davis, and do I think that he's a leader? Yes, but bro, his age scares me. Like it does. And every time we get somebody that is aging, it's always been on the wrong side of that age, man. And something
Facts.
ends up happening. And I pray that that doesn't happen. I hope that that maybe the fact that he has played here, he knows the MetLife um, turf and everything, but I, I would go double linebackers, bro. Like if Jacob's there and you have the first swing at that, take him. Okay, he's a big dude. That's the other part of it as well, and he's fast, and he has those leadership qualities of him that I think you're needed as that, and just learn from the Mario. Play free in your first time, in your first year, get the speed of the NFL, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean the piece that I haven't seen a lot of other people necessarily consider either is like when you look at kind of like the linebacker breakdowns once you get past like Sonny Styles and CJ Allen and like Jacob Rodriguez, who people are already calling light at like, what was he, 238, something like that around the combine. So it's like they're considering him light. But then after that, you start getting into like Kyle Lewis and some of these guys that are really just like a big slot cornerback. And 220 something pounds is like another Jamie and Sherwood. So it's really like you have to take one of those three guys just to introduce some size into that position. And then if you miss out on all three of those guys and you end up having to wait, you end up back in your Jamie and Sherwood experiment anyway. So like I don't know how else we really get around that. And it's also not even ideal for as much as I like Sonny Styles and Jacob Rodriguez, having to take two linebackers that close together between the first and second round isn't great when you have to think about contract extensions coming up if they do live up to it. But I'm taking them. I like to me that mock draft is kind of locked in for me. Sonny Styles at 2, and if I can get a Jacob Rodriguez at 33, like I'm almost doing it 100% of the time.
Yeah, dude, like BPA at that point, right? Like, and then 16, bro. That's the one. Yo, that 16 hurts. It's such a shitty position to be in because you're like, yo, after the 10, right? It's like it doesn't go as well. Do I want to guard at that position? I don't think so because I'd rather wait. We're paying out Dylan Parham. I don't think that because bro, there's people out there talking about moving Titman back into center, and
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this dude graded out way better at the guard position. Keep him there.
Yeah, I think we're finally in a position where it's like you don't need to take the swing to try to get like a stabilizing player on the offensive line. We figured out four of those spots, or three of those spots at least. You feel good about Parham, and then at center you can make that debate. But it's like I can afford what I've seen already there, and I can take a swing on somebody late in the draft. So at some point, once you get a line like this together, you need to be able to hit on those day three picks, which was like the struggles in the years with Rex Ryan and them. It was like, all right, you piece together, you had Mangold and you had Ferguson and you had these pieces, and then when you took your swings on, shit, I'm trying to remember all the names now. But when you took your swing on some of these guys on like
Calvin
round three,
Pryor,
round four, who?
Calvin Pryor, the Louisville Slugger.
Yeah, don't even get me started with him.
We could go like I was it D Milliner, right?
I liked him a lot too.
So did I. I
He
thought
hurt
it
me.
was gonna be something. I was see, but that's the other point of this whole thing. It's such a freaking like roll of the dice, that you pray that what you have in your coaching staff is able to develop these individuals.
Yeah, I don't even like when I looked at the coaching staff and kind of ran through kind of what expectations would be. Like, there's a fair amount of excitement that I have with them, but it's still just kind of like I don't know how negativity from last year is going to carry over from how things went. It's completely new staff. It's not like it's home run hires with Frank Reich and Musgrave in them, and you need to figure out how assertive Seth Ryan can be to just make sure things aren't getting stale out there. So it's still like a ton of question marks. In addition to, you still don't know like what the future, the quarterback position, like all of these key elements for them that are still really missing. Um, So yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot to feel good about. There's also a lot of stuff that's up in the air to where I can see why people would be like, well, let's just see where all the chips and dice and stuff land. But I think I don't know where you fall in on this though, but from start to finish so far with how the offseason has gone, I actually feel relatively good about what can happen this season so far. I don't know what that equates to in terms of wins, but I don't think it's out of the question that we just don't hit the projected six or whatever is out there right now.
100%. And I mean, and bro, like I trust the scouting guys because you saw what they did last year, and then you saw what they did with the guys that they brought on over. From free, they were our best players, and it's like, damn, they could continue to keep building. What I don't like is the division that I feel like the fan base is trying to put amongst Muji and Glenn. I really believe that they're working as a tandem and are able to really cover their ears and block out all the entire noise that's out there. Because this fan base, not for nothing, we're super loud. We're super super loud, and you feel like they hear you, and then they start making moves and everything because of that. But uh, again, I don't know, man. That's why, like, dude, I like today's sunny. Tomorrow for me could be Reese. You know what I'm saying? Like I keep changing, bro, because because I get if they're saying that Reese is the guy, and then at that position and paying him for like because what is it? The top individual get paid are what quarterbacks, edges,
Yeah, So the premium
right?
positions, quarterback, edge rusher, tackles.
Yeah.
Uh, if you have a pass rushing DT, someone like that, yeah.
And last thing, and I'm gonna get off. And I wanted to ask you this real quick, DK. Um, After I would say Jordan Tyson, right?
Mhm.
How much does the dip of wide receiver talent really fall?
Jordan Tyson is like an interesting use case to me to look at because if you remove the injury history, people are going to say unequivocally he's the top guy over Carnell Tate, over Makai Lemon, all that. Um, with the injury history, everybody essentially after the 10th pick is getting like a value selection, assuming he can stay on the field and all that kind of stuff, and he actually lives up to the potential. So for him, it would be tough to use him as like a starting point for me because technically he's the top wide receiver if you want to believe the talent of what he's shown. And he's only sliding because of the injury stuff. But I would say generally after like the big three of the players that are out there, I don't think it's this class probably introduces more X style receivers right out of the gate as opposed to what you generally see, which I think is interesting. And a lot of those guys don't have a ton of separation to me in terms of like the gap in talent level or even some of the athleticism stuff. Um, so like I feel good about that for me personally, and kind of to the point that Chris BC was pointing here. I want a boundary guy. Like I think it's much easier for you to find a slot guy anywhere else, and not to say that that's plug and play, but it's easier to get them to be productive regardless of athletic defaults or anything like that. I want to walk away with a Carnell Tate or a Malachi Fields or hell, even Chris Brazzell if he's somewhere in like the fourth or something like that. And then I can figure out the slot guy, right? In which, you know, throw Adonai Mitchell in there, throw Isaiah Williams, right? I thought he did pretty good in spurts last year. So like I think if you solve the X, it'll by kind of downstream impact solve a lot of the other stuff that's there. But I think some of those guys, not that they're all closely knitted together, but it's not like you're saying I'm going from a DeAndre Hopkins in his prime to I'm going to yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of someone like Noah Brown or whatever that we talked about for now. So I think it's close enough together to where you can really get a ton of value out of that. I think specifically they'll probably just be looking at measurables that really separates a lot of those guys. Otherwise, you could probably go into the fourth round and still feel really, really good about whoever you have is lining up on the boundary out there.
I mean, the hope for me is that they find a Puka Nakua, right, in
Mhm.
the rounds. The hope that is that the scouting team is doing so well that they're able to find these guys. That's why I threw some of those other names that are out there that they're not making as much noise other than Lemon, Tate,
Yeah.
and Tyson, and that's what everybody is just focused on. Dude, the kid Kobe Young from I keep talking about from Georgia, the dude's 6'5". 6'5", bro, and the dude's catch radius is insane. The kid from Illinois State, right? I can never pronounce his name. Daniel Sapkowicz or whatever. He's almost 6'3", right? They're comparing this kid to his route running like a Adam Thielen in a Cooper Cup. He's gonna fall, you know, if you want to get real funky with it. But I feel like we have one person already like that. Dude, Branch was a monster over there in Georgia. You got Jacoby Lane. Jacoby Lane's another guy,
Yep.
right?
Ted
That dude,
Hurst, Bryce Lance is out there.
yeah, like there's a lot of guys that are out there, dude. I do almost what Carolina did. Dude, Carolina is like wide receiving core. Dude, there's nobody under like 6'3".
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nuts. And you see that Bryce is just throwing it up there and they're just catching it however they can.
Yeah, no, that's facts. I know you say you'll bounce here, so I'll leave you with this last question from my guy. If you had to pick one guy to make the top 10 to shake up the whole board, who would you pick and why?
It's easy for me, man. It's gonna piss everybody off. You about to get your whole entire chat pissed off. They're about to get mad, bro.
Nah, we're level headed around here.
All right, they're about to get mad, bro. They're not gonna like. They're not gonna like. I've been saying this for every single year, bro. Every single year, and people are like, and then we're later on talking about we don't know what to do. We need something, dude. This position has lost us so many games, and nobody figures out how important this position is. All right, Dano, you ready, man? You might never have me come back on the danger zone whatsoever at all. But yo, give me the kicker from Michigan, man. Give me Zavada, dog, all day, every day. The
Oh
dude's
yeah,
70-yard bombs.
yeah. You done pissed us off.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just saying. So now, dude, dude, it would be Ty Simpson.
Ty
It,
Simpson,
it,
top 10.
Ty,
Okay.
Ty Simpson. If he goes top 10, yo, bro, you getting a whole bunch of people dropping left and right, and you're like, damn, should we jump up to get this person that we didn't think was gonna be there? So, but it's Ty Simpson, and look, I keep making noise for Ty Simpson. Keep saying that this guy is gonna be this and all that. Look, keep doing that because I don't want us to pick him up at that range. You know,
Yeah, something with you.
Steve Bosco, bro. Because dude, they get you the most points, right? Like
Yeah, no, but that's insane. I don't.
I know.
What's the last guy even picked in the first four rounds that really did well for themselves? Because Robert Aguayo didn't do well, or Roberto Aguayo. I'm trying to think the dude that the Falcons had picked up. Um,
Oh, Kim something,
uh,
Young Ho.
Young
What?
Hoo Koo, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So
hasn't panned out well for those guys, but I feel the logic. But
I'm just breaking balls. I really do hope they draft Doug with one of those comp picks that we have in the
yeah,
sixth, seventh. At that point, why not? Do it and have a. I want a kicker that's kicked in the cold and is kicked in the rain and in the wind, and that guy is the individual for that. It's so yo DK. I cannot wait to have you on tonight, man. But this is not about that at all, right? This is about
I
your
know
show.
there's 100% about that.
Yeah,
And
let's
we
talk.
for y'all that don't know, by the way, this is Johnny. He's part of Jets Worldwide. We're gonna link up at 4:30 today and chop it up on his space. I think he has another extra guest or two over there too.
Yeah,
And
you and Gunny.
oh, fire. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been
yeah,
trying to tap back in with Gunny again too, and it's rough. But it's gonna be fire. So by the way, go hit him up at some point when I get home outside of work. I'm gonna post the link for his stuff over there so you guys can come check it out with me too. And yeah, we're gonna go have us a good time for a little bit.
Yeah, man. So yeah, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come check us out every Friday night. But again, it's not about my show, man, or anything. This is about DK. Make sure you guys are hitting the like, hitting the sub. My guy does really good work constantly. He does good takes, all right, and it's what I like, man. So because I'm working right now, and to be able to hear that while I'm working, it's pretty dope, man. But hey, kicker, man, Zavada.
I'm
Let's
gonna
go.
have to look at it because I have been looking at kickers off to the side too, but like it was more for like, all right, who might be there as a UDFA or
Yo,
something like that. But yeah,
check him out.
I'm
Check
gonna have
him
to
out,
keep.
right? So Damian Zavada, he's from Michigan, right? It was a Wolverine. Hit his combine. Watch it. Dude was booting 70 yarders, bro, with room left.
Jesus
And then,
Christ.
but then don't even do that because it's combine, right? Like there's nobody in front of him. Look what he's doing in the games, bro, where you're seeing the flag going like this constantly, and it's dude is just bombing him, bro.
That's nasty
So
work.
you know, I think Dano's talking about foot, but dude, I look at the dude's calves, bro, right? Calves and them guys, bro. So I mean, look at Janukowski. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
giant calves, bro, and them thighs were huge, man. And like make a pause on that. But so but hey, boss girl, been it's 16 plus years that I've been with the company. So I brought myself all the way to a position to where I'm at. But, DK, I appreciate you. Look forward to it. Can't wait, man. It's gonna be an awesome time. What's the time difference over there? 3 hours?
Yeah, three, because you East Coast, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Oh man. All right. Well, yeah. Well, dude, you and Gunny tonight is gonna. I'm just probably gonna be like having that kind of full blown conversation. I'm be like, I can't even get in the middle of this right now. It's too good, So,
Yeah,
hey, appreciate you.
it's gonna be fire, man. I appreciate you putting it together, my man. I'm definitely looking
No
forward
doubt.
to it.
Later, man.
All
Peace.
right. Yeah, this is that Johnny's my guy, man. I don't know why it took so long for me to be able to tap in. I do. I got kids and all that kind of stuff. I'm at work too, right? I didn't gave you guys my power hour for lunch, but yeah, man, so many awesome dudes in the content creator space. Obviously, you guys see my guy Danger in there all the time. And at this point, I really feel like he's probably he actually owns my Discord more than I do because I jump in there like once a day as I probably get time to chop it up and respond to stuff and all that. But killer guys. Um, I don't know if I have a crazy one per se, right? I'll run through some of these before I wrap up so I can also try to wrap up work too. But if I would say one, right, it would probably be someone unexpected going up higher, but it would be a normal name, right? It would probably be like someone doesn't risk losing out on Jordan Tyson or someone takes Kenyon Sadiq just because the combine was so crazy for him. And outside of that, if it wasn't going to be a quarterback, then yeah, I don't know who would really go in there that would just draw crazy reactions. Um, but we shall see. Devin Lloyd got peanuts compared to Jordan Phillips in free agency. Edge is the pick for financial reasons when both players are impactful. Zero chance taking two linebackers in the top four picks. Edge and wide receiver meet team needs and positional value. Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't be mad if we went against the grain, but again, just the formulation of how you put a roster together. What Boss Girl mentioned is 100% the right way that you tackle some of these things. It would be no different. Like this is one of the things I actually tried to run through an exercise of doing when I was playing Madden like a couple weeks back. This thing is killing the side of my ear. Um, when you go through and you do the I forget what they call it, but like the fantasy draft of just all the players in the NFL and you redraft them up. Um Trying to run through that same exercise made me kind of like rethink what I would potentially do in the next mock draft again. But yeah, I'm not mad at the thought process at all. Our Jets need a high end type of wide receiver. I think need is a strong statement. It just depends on where we look to try to build that pass catching value. They don't care at all about noise from the fans. If you think like the fans, you'll be sitting with the fans. That's a bar. Although it does feel like sometimes we may as well have a seat in one of those front office boardrooms because you can almost feel when Woody Johnson is sweating when things aren't really going well. And he's trying to figure out what buttons he needs to press in order to try to, spike up prices on the seats and stuff more. The goal for our Jets is to build a wide receiver core that takes pressure off of Garrett. Absolutely. We need a versatile playmaker, I believe. Um, Versatile could mean a couple different things too, right? It could mean if you do have that that X receiver, bigger build. Obviously, you love a guy that could also take the top off. But if you have that guy that's going to be your contested catch guy, and or if he has the athleticism to be able to separate or is like a plus route runner, and to my mind, like let's just say Carnell Tate, that comes to mind, for example. Then that's also even a little bit different because then you can also throw these guys on the inside. You can almost treat them as a hybrid small tight end and do a number of different things that way. So not only do they dominate in just their natural role, but then you also get to kind of help maneuver and hide them within the offense to a certain degree to try to get them like free releases and stuff. I didn't realize Conklin went to Detroit. I like that. Did he? I could have swore I just remember hearing like Trevor Sycamore saying that he didn't understand why he was still out there in the free agency world. Yeah, kicker is insane. But again, I don't think anybody was expecting those other picks before with like Aguayo and all that. So if they do, I love it because then push one extra player that we didn't think we'd get a chance to get down to us. Confirmed foot fetish with the kicker take. Sebastian Janikowski, that was definitely a good comp for kind of what you want to see ideally out of a guy. Appreciate the time, danger, calf fetish. A little Rex Ryan protege here. You're working. Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about the time. Well, 4:25, so still within working hours. But yeah, we need a West Coast meetup. We need an every coast meetup. Let's get the guys on the East Coast together. Bring the West Coast guys over. Get the West Coast guys together. Get the East Coast guys over, and then we just meet up somewhere in the middle, like I don't know, excuse my geography. I was going to say Colorado. That's definitely not the middle. But we meet somewhere in the middle and get some stuff going. It's just a flexible job, too. Yeah. I don't know how I do this during my lunch break necessarily because normally I just work through lunch and people are just the entire time I'm in office. I'm kind of an important guy, I guess. So it's just questions left and right. But Ty Simpson is who I was thinking of too, where I could see Allard going top 40. Allard going top 40 would probably be insane to me. But how about Arizona for the game this season? The meetup, I expect. Pavia, if Pavia was to go anywhere close to even the top 3 rounds, I think I don't even know. Yeah, he's closer to like a UDFA than a top 100 guy to me, just kind of based on everything that's happened with him. Arizona. Oh yeah, we got quite the so Gunny in Texas. Danger, weren't you in Texas too? I don't think so. I thought I remember you having like a 2 hour time difference, unless Texas is 2 hours. But Texas, Arizona. I'm out here in Vegas. We could probably make this happen. Maybe get Scott and Yeti and a few others. I think we got the makings of something fire here. The Steelers meetup we did in 24 broke. Johnny. Appreciate the other half of Jets Worldwide coming through, by the way. That is a selling point of the Arizona game. Better chance to win and cheaper tickets. My daughter and I sat near visitor tunnel and she got autographs. Oh, that's fire. Yeah, I can't wait to when I can finally pull up to like a game with my kids. Elite. It's going to be elite. Let's get rid of this one. Party at Area 51. That's funny. Oregon. Why don't I ever remember you saying Oregon? We can make it happen. We can make this happen 100%. Or, if if by chance I end up becoming important enough at my job to where they give me tickets to any of the Raiders games at some point, I will make sure I come to you all first and we'll figure out if we can't organize something there. Obviously for a Jets game, a Raiders Jets game, but we'll see if we can't make something like that happen. Yeah, no, absolutely. At some point we'll meet up 100%. I'm gonna I'll take vacation from work one of these years and I'll end up doing some travels for games and all that. So something will happen. With that said, though, an hour and a half of talking for me is absolutely insane, and I need to do more with my guy Johnny and Gunny and Jets Worldwide over there. So aside from the work I still need to do, I need to try to save my voice for that and whatever the wife and kids are going to want to talk about when I get home. So I do appreciate everybody showing up though. Hour and a half stream today, a little more than expected, which was fire. Appreciate everybody coming through. Some of the new faces. Boss Girl, I've seen you elsewhere, but I don't exactly recall. Maybe other than here or there popping up. So I appreciate that. Danger, my guy. I'm gonna chop it up with you about linking up again at some point too. I do want to get you an official capacity on the show and not just pulling up at some point in the stream when you have a free moment. And then of course I want to jump back over there with you too. But I will catch up with everyone again. Hopefully, see you later again on the Just Worldwide stream. Otherwise, I'm going to see if I can't get another one of these to pop off next week. And we'll go from there. But enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys again.